Hello and welcome to the kitchen. So today we will be making a nice creamy vegetable soup that is all vegan. At least the recipe is. You can add some bacon or meat if you want. You can still make this contain a lot of protein even without meat. You should at least give it a try. So the ingredients for this soup are very simple. We have 1 kilo of potatoes, 400 grams of carrots, and then I peeled them. I will use 3 sweet peppers, 2 small onions. If you have a big onion, just use 1. Else it can taste a lot of onion if you put too much. Then for protein, I'll put some red lentils. They taste a bit like peas, and I have 100 grams. And then I just made an oat cream. Basically you put 50 grams of oats into a blender and top up with 250 grams of water, and then you let it run for a few minutes, and then you have this oat cream. You can also buy this, and actually that's probably better. The stuff you buy contains fat and emulsifier, so it will taste a bit more. And if you don't want to make a vegan version, just use normal heavy cream. And you can also replace the protein with bacon or ham. We'll need a pot that can hold all this. Now I don't make a very big portion here, but you can just make double or triple, and then you can freeze it in small bags, and then you have an easy meal for the next few weeks. So I'll go and prepare the vegetables, and then I'll show you how to make it. And a tip for long vegetables like these peppers, just cut them all up into strips and then bunch them up, and then you can very easily cut them all into nice small pieces. So all the vegetables are prepared. The finer you chop them, the faster you can cook the soup. The potatoes are just sliced, and the peppers I made into very small cubes. The peppers are kind of important because the skin doesn't really dissolve, so you'll have the same size skin pieces floating around in your soup as you have peppers. We are going to blend it with a stick blender, but there might still be some left, so just make them small. And I grated the carrots roughly on a grater, and the onions are finely chopped. So the first step to cook it is to put some olive oil in the bottom of our pot here, just enough to cover the bottom, and then we turn it on high heat and the onions go in. We want to caramelize these a little bit on high heat because the caramelized sugars add taste to the soup. And when the onions have just started to caramelize, just a little bit, you take a handful of carrot and put that in also. You can't put all the carrots because then it will boil instead of frying. And it's getting a bit dry, so I just add a bit more oil. And when you start to see brown pieces of vegetable like this, you turn off or turn down the heat. And then you add in the rest of the carrot. And then mix it around. And now we can deglaze the pot with a glass of water. And now we transition over to boiling instead of frying. And we add in our potatoes. And our sweet peppers. And then I will fill this with water until there's about 1 or 2 centimeters above the vegetables. So just like this here. Then we just give it a good mix. And then you have 2 options with the lentils. You can just put it in now while the soup is still very thin. That will make the lentils puff up, and they will break when you stir it, and they will help to make the soup thicker, and you won't bite into these lentils, so you can't even feel they are there. The other alternative is to put them in boiling water after the soup is done, and then you cook these until they are just soft, and then you can add them in the soup afterwards. But then you will have something to bite into. I will just put them in straight away though. Now we just need to bring it back to boiling. Then we put a lid on it and we let it boil for at least half an hour. The longer you give it, the better. So if you have 1 hour, then you give it 1 hour, and so on. I think I just need to add 1 more glass of water. You can put anything you want into this soup, really. It's very good with leeks also, and you can add a bit of celery. That will also be nice. You can even add 1 or 2 tomatoes. It's basically just what you have in your home that you need to use. The only essential thing is the potatoes, really. That's what gives it the thickness when it's done. So now we are boiling again. We just want it to simmer for at least half an hour. Also, if you want to add chili, it's a good idea to do it in the beginning, because then the heat will distribute better throughout the soup. So it has cooked for about 15 minutes now, and you can see these lentils are now almost cooked into mush, but it's not quite done yet. So this has now been cooking for 45 minutes, and we see the potatoes are starting to fall apart when we stir it, and all the other things are getting mushy. That's exactly what we want. You could still give this half an hour more if you want, but I'm hungry, so I want to eat it now. Now we have to break up all the ingredients even more. I will use an immersion blender, a stick blender, but you can also use a whisk and then really work for it, but it depends what kind of smoothness you want. I like both, but today I'll make it very smooth. Turn off the heat so it doesn't boil and splash on us. So I will start this on low speed. So that has now been blended into a nice thick soup. We will taste it. I'm pretty sure it needs a lot of salt. I think it has a good balance between the ingredients. I can taste all of them without any being overwhelming. I think I'll give it a fresh grind of black pepper also. And let's turn on the heat again. It still needs salt. The texture is already pretty creamy, even though we didn't add any fat to this. Just that little bit of oil in the beginning. It has a sweetness from the onion, the carrots, and also from the lentils. And then it has a bit of earthy taste from the lentils and the potatoes. You can also add mushrooms to this if you like. I'm not a big mushroom fan, but that shouldn't stop you from doing it. And the salt is beginning to be on spot. And to make it even more creamy, now I will add the oat cream that I made earlier. I'll probably start with half of it. You can still use a bit more salt. It really does need a lot, but just add a little bit at a time so you don't over salt it. And I'll just give it a little bit more of this oat cream. Yeah, just add all of it. No need to waste it. So now we just need to plate it up. As you see, it's nice and creamy. If we want to keep this vegan, we can chop it up with some yeast flakes and then a handful of whole wheat croutons. You can also put some fresh herbs on top. I don't have any on hand, so I'll give it a little bit of dried basil. And there we have it, a creamy vegetable soup that's entirely vegan. You can also mix in some freshly cooked chickpeas or more lentils to give it more protein. There's only 100 grams of lentils in this 3 liters of soup, so if you want this as your main meals, then you probably need a bit more. But it's just a matter of adding it in. However, if you don't want it to be vegan, you can add bacon, you can add some cream, and you can do whatever you want. Thanks for watching.